For as long as I can remember, they've been telling us to enjoy it while they're young, but our days are filled with chaos and stress and cooking and endless laundry piles. Where's the time to enjoy it? Yeah, that's what I always thought too. There's so much I have to do. When do I find time for peace and joy and happiness when I barely have time to sleep? Mama, it's time to make shift happen. You can be a happy mom. If I can, you can. Trust me. I've been a mess, I've been depressed, I've been overwhelmed, I've been to the bottom of the pits, and I've risen, I've grown, I've bloomed, and it all started when I realized I didn't have to anything. I get to. It is my privilege and my honor and my divine responsibility to be the queen of my home. It's not a burden. I'm not a burden. I'm in charge. I'm the ruler. I'm the chaos coordinator. I'm the calm in the storm, and so are you. Come with me. Let's rise, mamas. Adjust your crown. Accept your responsibility. Change the effing world together. It's all in the way we choose to see it. I'm so glad you're here, friend. You're listening to Meant to Bloom with Brittany Clarkson. Hello, my beautiful friend. How are you doing? It is a beautiful day here in Oregon when I'm recording this episode for you Wednesday morning. Typically my episodes come out on a Tuesday, so I'm recording this one late. This is real-time conversation we're having today. Things have not been 100% just fine and dandy all of the time. And as you've heard in my previous episodes, if you've been following along and listening this whole time, I've been going through a lot of give and take, a lot of growth, and a lot of setbacks and being propelled forward at the same time. And that is life. That is life. It is give and take. And I wanted to kind of give you, I want to tell you about my weekend away. Okay. This is why this episode is coming out late. Kind of because I didn't prepare ahead of time, and I thought, I'll get back from my trip on Sunday, and on Monday I'll prep the podcast. And come around Monday, I did not feel like recording the episode I planned on recording. And yesterday, Tuesday, I went ahead and recorded one. No, actually Monday night I recorded one. It was going to come out on time on Tuesday, but it was a different episode than what I had planned, and I ended up just deleting the whole thing once it was done because I was like, this isn't, that was me rambling for 18 minutes. We don't need that. So, yesterday I went ahead and was like, let's just refresh. Let's just give it a day. We'll get to it when we get to it. And now here I am back at it. You see, the thing is, I actually quit over the weekend. And I want to tell you about that. I want to tell you about the events that took place. I had a great weekend. I really did. It was fun. I convinced myself it wasn't for a little bit of time. Had myself a mental breakdown in a Vegas hotel room. That was so much fun. It wasn't, but it was needed. All right. So the whole point of today is I want to let you know that some things just don't go the way that we plan for them to go, and yet they go exactly the way that they need to go. All right, my weekend getaway to Vegas, for example, that was meant to be this romantic and fun trip with my husband. All right, it wasn't meant to include a 2-hour sob fest in my hotel room, rethinking my entire life, temporarily quitting this podcast, and yet that's exactly what the weekend needed. Okay, what I realized in that time of brokenness and vulnerability is that I wasn't being honest with myself. I was hiding away the ugly parts and pretending that I'd overcome them every single time they came up, when in reality, I was running away from them. And here's the problem with running away from your problems, even when they're internal problems, mindset problems, false beliefs about yourself problems. When you run away from them, they will catch up to you. And when they do, you're going to be exhausted from all the running. You're going to be vulnerable when they catch you. And it's already a vulnerable thing to deal with. So the lesson here is it's best to face the fears, face the lies, face the ugliness when it's still small and fresh, okay? Before you've gone running off and getting yourself tired. Okay, so here's what happened. I stressed myself out. I tried to play things easy. I tried to, choose peace. I tried to make it flow and make it simple. But I tried too hard in a lot of ways. All right, my husband flew down on Tuesday to Vegas. He had a big convention, the construction expo. He went with his boss and everything. Um, and so he was there on Tuesday, and I was home with the boys. And so while he was gone, I had to take care of the boys, take my kids to school, um, go about my normal life without him. And then I had to plan and prep and pack for everything for the boys to go to my mom's house, for the animals to all be taken care of for the weekend. And I had to prep and plan and pack for myself to go to Vegas. And then I had to travel by myself again, which I don't totally mind. It's just exhausting to travel, um, especially by plane, even when it's a 2-hour trip. It's exhausting for me to be around people for that long, that period of time. Like, I just feel like, like I can't just sit and be myself and be comfortable on the plane, even 2 hours, because like people all frown upon you taking off your shoes and, like sitting in ways that aren't normal ways to sit. I don't like sitting in a plane. I like, sitting crisscross. I like, having my feet up. I like laying upside down on the couch, those types of things. So it's very hard for me to just be like on and presentable for such a long period of time, like acting like I'm a grown up when I really just want to, act like a child. Um, I just can't get comfortable. And it's a really long period of time to not be comfortable. I found simple ways of compromising, to be a little bit more comfortable, to have a little bit of a better time, when I am traveling. Like, for example, I have like a playlist that I specifically listen to. Like, I have a takeoff song, and that helps to comfort me. I have like basically the same outfit formula that I wear every single time I travel, which is like my wool socks with my sandals, so I can kick off my shoes easy going through TSA and, not be barefoot at the same time. Wear my warm, cozy socks. And when I get to my destination, which is usually in the Southwest, if it's too warm, I can take off my socks and shove them in my bag, and I'm wearing sandals. Ta-da! I wear that plus leggings, plus like a comfy t-shirt and a flannel, maybe a sweatshirt too. Um, that kind of thing. Like, I have this formula that helps me be a little bit more comfortable, but it's still being on for such a long time with people around, and trying to follow all the right rules and social norms and all that. It gets exhausting. So, I go from a week alone with the boys to prepping and planning and packing everybody, to actually traveling and being in front of people. And then Friday night, I arrive in Vegas. It was awesome not being there alone and having to figure out like car transportation for myself and everything. Because my husband, he arranged like an Uber and he picked me up at the airport. And so that was nice. That was helpful. That took a lot of load off. Like, mentally, I could just follow him and chill a little bit. But then I had all this expectation on myself to like be on even more, because now we have 48 hours in Vegas together, and I need to just be this fun wife who is down for everything and is just ready to go, go, go. I was like, I don't want to waste our time sitting in the hotel room doing nothing when I really feel like I need a 5-hour nap in the middle of the day. Um, I compromised on that. I took like a 1-hour nap, maybe an hour and a half. On the second day when I was there for a full day, we did go back and rest, and that was much needed. Um, but it wasn't enough. I we overdid it. We ended up walking the entire length of the strip. We just kind of kept going, and we went like all the way down. If you're familiar with it, we went like all the way down to the end of the line pretty much. Like, we went from the airport to Circus to the convention center, which is basically almost the entire 6-mile strip. Um, I walked 8 miles that day. Thankfully, we rode the monorail back to our hotel after that, and that's when I was just exhausted. Like, we just walked and didn't hardly do anything because we just went beyond where all the stuff is to the very end, where everything is kind of like old and run down. And if you're not there for the convention, there's no reason to be there. Um, which we didn't bring our convention tags with us because we didn't plan on walking all the way down to the convention center. Um, Otherwise, he would have, at least walked me around and shown me all the cool construction stuff that, he really cares about. Which, I don't, and that's fine. That's cool. He doesn't care about some of the things in my life. Just the hobbies. Our hobbies do not overlap very much. Um, but we try to be supportive and respectful of each other. But, like, yeah, I wasn't really interested in seeing that stuff anyway, and we walked all the way down there, and I was hungry, and at that point, I was exhausted, and my feet hurt, and my back hurt. I was like, "I'm tired. Now I'm in a bad mood." And we rode the monorail back, and we went back to the hotel, and I tried to rest a little bit, and I ended up just having a meltdown, like a baby tantrum. I was just crying, and I let all these kind of false lies about myself kinda spiral me out of control, um, and I felt like a mess, and I felt like my whole life was a sham, and I felt like a fraud, and I just remember crying and thinking, like, "How can I be showing up and supporting this community that I'm building, and how can I be giving you tips and pointers on overcoming all the ugliness when I'm not even facing my own? How can I be here saying that I support your mental health when I am, having a mental breakdown right now?" And I really convinced myself that I needed to quit, and I was like, "I'm a fraud, I'm a fake. I can't do this. I've been trying for 3 years now to not be depressed, and here I am crying." And I temporarily quit, looked myself right in the mirror in the bathroom, tears in my face, and said, "I quit. That's it. I'm done. I'm gonna upload the last of my podcasts that I have recorded in my queue and just quietly quit and be done." And it didn't take very much longer before I realized, "Oh, that's actually a piece of, like, what I'm missing." I realized my error. It was that I am running away from so much of, like, the dark and the ugly feelings, and I am not talking about them. I'm tiptoeing around those conversations a lot because I didn't want to feel those feelings again. I didn't wanna remember how it felt to be in the dark and in the ugly, because I'd spent so much of my life in the dark ugliness that once I found the light, I was like, "That's all I wanna focus on. I only wanna talk about, the remedies to those feelings. I don't wanna talk about those feelings." And I realized that's sort of the error of my ways. I I think I've been perpetuating toxic positivity in a bit, and I didn't mean to, but I think I've been living in toxic positivity a little. Every time those negative feelings came up, I was like, "Oh, let's shift to positive. Let's shift to positive." And I convinced myself that I was dealing with the negative when really I was running away from the negative. Got myself completely exhausted from all the running, and it caught up to me, and I sobbed and I cried, and I allowed myself to believe that false delusion that, crying's not okay, crying means there's something wrong. Crying is a normal part of life, okay? And I'll add in the fact that, like, I am currently now on my period, so this last weekend in Vegas, I was PMSing the whole time. Add that the hormonal medley into all of that, and yeah, it would be surprising if, you know, a PMSing introvert who's been running away from her ugly feelings didn't have a mental breakdown in Vegas. I was overstimulated. There was a lot going on. I was exhausted, overwhelmed. That's normal to have a breakdown. It's okay to have breakdowns. Even when everything seems like it's not overwhelming, it can be. Like, just because something doesn't look heavy doesn't mean it's not. Sometimes we get to a point where it's like, yeah, we're gonna have a breakdown, we're gonna cry, and it's good for you to cry sometimes, it really is. I don't cry enough, alright? I have a handful of friends who, like, crying is just how they process things, and they will cry very often. I've always been around friends who cry often, and I've always been this one that's like, "I just don't cry very much." But when I do, wow, it's a thing, like, wow. If you've ever seen me cry, it's an ugly cry, and it's uncontrollable, and it usually, like, ends up with me dry heaving. I put a lot into my crying sessions, just kinda making up for all the time that I don't cry, I guess. So, yeah, we're friends, I'll tell you all about that. But I realized that I was just ignoring. I was being a red flag, and I was ignoring that. I was perpetuating toxic positivity in my own life, and it wasn't like if someone came to me with a negative feeling or emotion that was like, "Oh, positive vibes only. We don't talk like that." Like, no, I wasn't doing that. I was allowing other people to vent to me, and I was helping other people through things, and so I didn't think that I was involving myself with toxic positivity at all because I know in my, like, conscious brain, I know that toxic positivity is not the way to go. It's not really going to be helpful. It's just masking the negativity, and it's ignoring it instead of recovering from it, instead of processing it. I know that in my thinking brain, but in my feeling brain, in my unconscious brain, I was doing it anyway. I was just trying to focus on all the positive and ignore the dark, ignore the negative, ignore the ugly. And it caught me. And I realized I'm really not talking about negative feelings ever anymore, because I didn't want to feel them, because I was afraid if I talk about it, I'm going to feel it again, and then like depression's just going to suck me back down. And that is just a negative, like a limiting belief that I had put on myself, because that's not true. Talking about the way I used to feel is not going to undo and unravel all of the progress I've made towards my mental health. So I don't know if this is resonating with any of you, but it really felt on my heart in that moment where I quit podcast and then, nearly immediately decided, wait, I have so much more to say to them. I realized this piece of the puzzle I was forgetting. Let's go back and let's talk. Let's shift things a little bit. I don't know if this is resonating with you, but I felt such a calling to go ahead and share this story with you guys. So I know someone out there has to be getting something from this, and I would really, really appreciate if you would reach out to me and let me know what you got from this episode. Like, email me hello@brittanyclarkson.com. Let me know exactly what you needed to hear out of this episode, because someone out there needed to hear something I had to say. Don't let this be for nothing. But I also wanted to mention that happiness, I realized, is not a cure. Okay, learning to be happy does not cure your mental illness. It does not cure your depression. It does not cure your anxiety. Gratitude doesn't cure it. It is a home remedy, though. It is a remedy, right? So, like, we can't cure the common cold. It's going to keep mutating and keep coming back. But we do have remedies to control it. When we feel it coming on, we can take, zinc and vitamin C and all these other types of things. Like, I'm not here for medical advice. Don't, like, I might be misspeaking anything. Like, I'm not a doctor. Don't take medical advice from me ever. I don't know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I was looking at happiness as being the cure, thinking like, aha, I got it. Depression's never coming back. Even though I knew I was still having depressive days. I was still having feelings of depression, even though I wasn't letting it take over my life. It's because I was convincing myself that, like, finding happiness, being capable of happiness was my cure. And it's not my cure. The happiness, the gratitude, just learning how to cope with anxiety and overwhelm, those are all remedies. They're going to help you get through it when it comes back and tries to infect you. But it doesn't really cure it. I don't know that there is a cure if you have these mental illnesses, these mental fallacies. I think they are habits that your brain is going to keep going back to, and you're just going to have to keep treating them as it comes back, And that's the best we can hope for, because everything is not going to be fine and dandy, perfect all of the time. That's not going to happen. You're never going to face a time where there's no more sadness, there's no more pain, there's no more, false delusions of your worthiness. You're never going to fully get rid of it. And so don't feel guilt when it comes back. Don't let it rock your entire life and make you think you need to quit everything you've ever built, just because you're feeling those feelings again. It happens. It comes back, it comes and it goes. And what we do is we just conquer it when it comes instead of running. We don't run and hide. We conquer it as we face it. And that's really what I wanted to share with you today, friend. I love you. Take care. Until next time. Thank you so much for joining me today for this episode of Meant to Bloom. It really does mean the world to me. But are you ready to take this a step farther? Check out the description below of this episode and grab your mindset makeover. It's totally free, my gift to you. Then hop on Instagram and let me know what you thought of this episode. Tag me at Britt Clarkson, that's BritClarkson. If any part of this resonated with you, please let me know by tagging me or leave a review and share on social media so other mamas can find this too. If it helped you, it's going to help someone else. You're part of a movement now. Let's go.